So glad you could join us. Thanks for tuning in tonight. We are excited to get started with the program this evening. I'm thrilled to see you all here. Just a quick couple things. I want to just share what the agenda is for tonight. We're going to start off the night with a keynote address from Dan Kittredge, and I'll get to introduce him in a minute. And then we'll get into some updates about Oak, what's happening on the board and finances and program. And we're going to save the last part of the evening together for a regional breakout discussion. So I'm really excited to be in conversation with you all tonight. And thank you for taking some time out of this beautiful week to share with us for all the Oak updates. All right, so we are going to get started. We are staying on time this time. Last year we ran way over. I'm really excited to welcome Dan Kittredge back into the Oak Circle. I'm going to add you to the spotlight there, Dan. And so Dan was with us back in 2020. He right before COVID, he was with us in Louisville at the annual Oak Conference, and it was really exciting to welcome him to Kentucky at that time. So Dan's been an organic farmer for over 30 years up in Massachusetts, and he's the founder and executive director of the Bionutrient Food Association, a nonprofit with a mission to really investigate and increase the quality in the food supply. So it's really fun to have him back with us. His research is looking particularly at nutrient density and how the connections between soil health, plant health, and human health should really be driving our food system and how our food is grown. So that's right up our alley. We're so excited to hear the updates on his recent research and what he's seen happen in the food system. So Dan, I'm going to hand it over to you.
All right. Well, thank you for having me back. Yes, it's I think I had a bunch of things scheduled that winter, 2020. I just gotten back from Europe and 6 countries in 7 days and back and forth across, I think, to North Dakota and Kentucky, and bam, everything got shut down. So I've just been back on the road now in the past 6 weeks, maybe. But I'm really glad to be back here with you at Oak. You're one of the few, sustainable ag organic organizations across the country that's been partnering with us at the Bionutrient Institute with all the research work. And I grew up in NOFA. I consider Oak and, PASA and VABF and Moses and OFA, all sort of kindred spirit organizations. So I feel like I'm on home turf here. I've been told that I should expect that people have some familiarity with my work. So I'm not going to start at the beginning. But quickly, I did grow up on an organic farm. My parents ran NOFA, Northeast Organic Farming Association, various aspects of it for about 35 years. So I have a long background in that world. But I've been the executive director of the Bionutrient Food Association for 10 years now. And our mission has been increasing quality in the food supply. And by quality, we mean basically, that the ambient nutrient level in food next year for everyone is better than it is this year. That sort of step by step, we're all working together to, increase nutritional value in food, which we think connects to farm viability and soil health and ecosystem function and human health and all kinds of exciting things. We can go down the metaphysical rabbit holes, perhaps not today, but really the idea is that the more well we all are, the more well we all are. And so being able to focus on quality and sort of keep raising the bar is the insight that we've been working on. So I'll give a quick background on some of the things we've been doing and where we're going, and then I'd like to open it up for a conversation. I think I'm intending 20 or so minutes for a presentation, and then about 5 or 10 minutes for conversation. So we started in 2016 with this concept that we would like to do 3 things. One is to define the variation that's in nutrient levels in food. The idea is that, the tomato you eat off the shelf in January is different from the tomato you eat off the vine in August. We all know that. We've all tasted that. We've all felt how that feels in our body. But we don't actually have a way of discerning that. We don't have a way of helping people make those choices. So can we define that variation? Does it exist? Is there a real nutritional variation in food? When we started, that was an open question. Maybe people thought it was 5% or 10% or 15%, but really maybe they had to do with varieties or soil type. Not much you could do as a farmer. So step 1 was, is there variation in food and can we assess it? Step 2 was, Can we connect that to management and what causes, that variation? Soil type, fertility program, management practice, all these things. And then step 3 is, can we develop some way to test it? Can we give anybody the ability to see this carrot's in the 80th percentile, this carrot's in the 20th percentile? Most of our standards in marketing right now are you either are organic or are not. And that's kind of a binary perspective. And we understand that life is not binary, life is a continuum. So we started in 2017, built our first meter. In 2018, we built our first lab and assessed our first couple of crops, carrots and spinach. We worked with people sending in samples across the country from grocery stores and farmers markets and farms, organic, not organic. And we looked at about 18 different elements and a couple different compounds. And we found, roughly the variation was something like this. It was, in calcium in carrots, maybe it was 3-to-1. So this carrot had as much calcium as those 3 carrots. In iron in spinach, maybe it was 15-to-1. So this spinach had as much iron in it as those 15 leaves of spinach. And then with antioxidants in carrots, maybe it was 75-to-1. So this carrot has as much as those 75. And with polyphenols in spinach, it was 200-to-1. So literally, that's the kind of variation we found in 2018 when we first started doing the lab work. In 2019, we started working with the growers and asking them to report if they tilled, when and how deeply, with what, did they do cover crops? What was the planting? What was their fertility program? Did they irrigate? What was the varieties? Did they use inoculants? Did they do foliar spray? So asked a bunch of management practice questions and then asked them to submit the crops. So when you pull the carrots, pull 3 carrots, then pull the soil from underneath them as well. So we can connect the management practices and environmental conditions with the soil and with the nutrient levels. So we set up our second lab in 2019 at Chico State in California and looked at 6 different crops. And then in 2020, we set up a third lab in France, and we went out to about more than 20 different crops and more than 150 farms, some of them oak farms, and looked at that and saw what the nutrient variations were and how they connected to soil carbon and how they connected to management practices. And sort of the updates since I was last at Oak are that we have, I like to say, completed proof of concept. We have shown that nutrient variation exists and it's massive. We looked at more than 20 different crops, some root crops, some leaf crops, some fruit crops, and some grains. And we found that massive variation across the board on elements and compounds, in every one of these crops. We've also found direct connections between management and soil carbon and nutrient levels. So those practices that we would call organic or agroecological or permaculture or regenerative or whatever your term is, those techniques connect with increased soil carbon and increased nutrient levels in crops. So direct connections we've shown between management and soil carbon and nutrient levels, positive connections for the biological practices. And finally, we have been able to, with our meter, calibrate it to 10 crops. So this is the current version we've got, which is nothing fancy, but it is a real working thing. And you can take it now to the grocery store or to the farmer's market or back out to the garden, and you can flash a light at 10 different things: wheat and oats and spinach and mustard and zucchini, and get readings. So we're very I would say happy to get to this point where we have said, yes, variation exists and it's significant, and we've documented it. It's across the board. Yes, that nutrient variation connects to management practices more than it connects to labels, right? It doesn't connect to soil types so much. It doesn't connect to labels so much. It doesn't connect to variety so much. It connects to management, right? Organic per se does not connect to more nutritious. Proper deep organic practices do. Proper regenerative practices do. Certainly, the more open pollinated sort of heirloom varieties generally have a better inherent capacity for nutrition, but you can do a really good job with hybrids too. It doesn't matter so much where you are, it matters how you're doing it. And that's really what seems to be the case. So we've shown that, nicely. And also we've, gotten to the point where we've been able to build a meter that people can use and to get readings. So the concept of, can we empower the general public to make choices based on their own well-being, to choose the food that's better for themselves and their family, that also happens to connect to the soil being healthier, the planet being healthier, and probably the farmer being more economically viable? That is a plausible scenario. So That all is very, very exciting as far as I'm concerned. As of last year, we began to pivot from what I call nutrient variation, which is, yes, it's 3-to-1 on calcium and carrots. It's 15-to-1 on iron and spinach. So we can say this spinach has more iron or this carrot has more calcium, but that does not mean more nutritious, right? We don't eat elements. We don't eat polyphenols. We eat food. And so what we want to be able to do is to say, yes, variation exists. Now can we come to a point where we can, with some confidence, say, this carrot is better, this carrot is decent, this carrot is really not quite so good. And our thought is if we can get to that point, then we can begin to really allow the market self-interest to act on this thing. And so we last year launched a beef campaign, a beef project to define nutrient density in beef. So we're having that be the first thing that we actually get a nutrient density definition on. We're looking at about 550 elements and compounds in a steak. So we're asking anybody who's a participant will be sending in a grower, a rancher will send in 3 steaks from separate animals. They'll send in the combined microbiome of basically the fecal material from the herd and the forage and the soil and the management practices. And our target is 200 ranches, growers across the planet, different continents, sending in those 3 samples, along with people buying in steaks from the grocery store that might be more likely from the CAFO operations, the confined operations. So our thought is, by the end of this year, into 2022, we will have a definition for nutrient density in beef. It'll be a red, yellow, green, probably good, decent, and not so good. We'll also be looking at synthetic meat, the fake meat, the sort of, all those things, and looking at the biochemistry there, because it really is. Well, interestingly, if you look at the label of the fake meat and the real meat, and it's the CAFO meat versus the polyculture pasture versus the fake meat, they all have the label the same thing, which is a certain amount of protein, a certain amount of iron, riboflavin, whatever. There's only 11 things on that label, and the fake meat is they dial in the recipe so that it will look the same on the back for those 11 things. But really, there's many thousands of nutrients, compounds in food, in any food stuff. The USDA monitors 130. They put 11 on the back of the container or the package. We're going to be looking at over 500, and the data we're looking at right now shows very clearly that how you raise the animal connects with what's in the meat and what's not. There's all these secondary metabolites are called flavor compounds, aroma compounds, polyphenols, terpenoids. People may have heard those words. They're sort of the antimicrobial, antifungal, anti-cancer. All those compounds that you would think of in essential oils or medicinal plants or vegetables have these in high levels. Think about the fact that the cows are out there grazing. When they have a proper polyculture to work with, they may be not eating a lot of birch leaves or whatever it is, but they're definitely eating from a broad spectrum. And those compounds, those nutritional compounds that we humans would not otherwise get from our food, right, from our fruits and vegetables, the cows are basically upcycling into their meat or into their milk. And so there really is a profound variation there from a nutritional standpoint. And the data is already there to show it. But we're going to be in a place where we can say somewhat categorically, good, decent, not so good. And then once you've got that, we can begin to say, this meter we've got is pretty rudimentary. It's a proof of concept. It's able to assess variation in a couple of things. Now we're going to go to the next level, and we're actually going to be able to create a meter that tests nutrient density. So that's really the next phase of our work. I would say in the first 5 years, we completed proof of concept. Now we're actually getting the job done. And so this year we hope to get beef done, and then we'll move on next year to dairy and oats and soy. We're hoping to do, in the next 3 to 5 years, the top 20 crops on the planet, and really sort of bring this home. Our thought is if we can actually define nutrient density across the board on the major crops that are out there, and create the instruments, the vision of having the economic structure support people doing the right job can actually come to pass. So it's very exciting, and we're it's as a small nonprofit, as I'm sure Oak knows, the logistics are sometimes tenuous, but the momentum is quite amazing right now. I'm very happy to say that a lot of the community that's been, I would say, late to the game, the organic, I would say the organic culture, organic organizations, the permaculture community, the biodynamic communities, agroecologists. There's a bunch of people that have been in this space for a while, and I would say the regenerative community is fairly new to the game, but they do bring, attention and companies and things in a way that hasn't been brought to the movement recently. But those who have been serious about what is truly regenerative are coming to the conclusion that it's much probably more strategic to focus on the quality of food than it is to focus on carbon payments. That just from a logistical standpoint, empowering growers, you're going to get a premium of much more significance based on the quality of the food if this all transpires than you will on your $15 per ton of carbon that you may sequester at the rate of 1 to 2 tons per acre, right? So there really is a lot of, I would say, tailwind right now in this process, and we're certainly, we now have what we call the Data Explorer. So anybody who has taken part in the process, I will say a couple of things I skipped over actually. One is that from a foundational standpoint, everything we're doing is in the commons. So anybody who's taking part, they own their data. It's their prerogative to share or not to share. Everything we've done with the engineering, with the meter and the data sets and the software is all in the commons. So anybody can download the meter and manufacture it and sell it if they want. We don't own it. But conceptually, we are creating this framework where we hope people are incentivized to engage in the process. And so those who have been grower partners in the past, they can see what the readings are on the crops they submitted. They can see what their management practices were, and they can see what other people who submitted that same crop, what their management practices were, and what their readings were, what their varieties were, what their soil type. And we hope that we can facilitate sort of this horizontal, decentralized learning and sharing to improve overall function. So as far as ways that people can engage with a project now, the bionutrientinstitute.org is our new website for anybody who's interested in the science piece of it. We have citizen scientists, so you can go to a grocery store or a farmer's market and you can purchase samples and send them in and get readings. You can be a grower partner and you can fill out the forms and send in your soil and your crops. We've got organizational partners, which I think Oak was previously coordinating a group of growers. We've got the city sampling campaign where you can take your whatever your region is and identify the 5 grocery stores or points of purchase in your region and sample the same 4 crops off the shelf from all 5 stores, send them all in and gain perspective on, for those who only have stores to buy from and aren't growing themselves, where actually the better quality is. What's the quality of the supply chain you've got locally? Our thought is if we can, from the bottom up, identify what works and where good stuff is, and we can empower people to make decisions accordingly, we can peacefully but quite profoundly affect significant change. So if people want to join the Beef Project and join that, you can do that. If you want to sign up and be a grower partner or a citizen scientist, you can do that. But yeah, I'm just really honored to be here speaking to you all, and thankful that you have been asked to give an update on our work, and look forward to collaborations going forward with BFA and Oak and the broader cultural process. So I think that was most of my 20 minutes, or maybe actually even a little bit less, but I'd love to engage questions and conversation as much as possible.
Yeah, thanks for that, Dan. I'm wondering, I didn't see any questions come through in the chat, so feel free, folks, to drop some questions in the chat, or you can ask Dan a question. It's a small group. What's coming up for you? Oh yeah, did you sample? Great question from Julia Sampson. Did you sample any crops grown in hydroponic systems, and how did they match up? And full disclosure, we have a little bit of a hydroponic pressure system here in Kentucky. So
we didn't do as much hydroponic as we would have liked to have done. I think we do a formal report on our site. We've got the 2020 report, we've got the food desert experiment report, we've got the grains report, we've got the hydroponic report. And I think 1 out of 8 metrics was higher by any meaningful measure, and 1 was about neutral. So mostly lower, right? The significant, from what science we did, nutrient levels in hydroponic are lower than nutrient levels in soil grown. It doesn't have to be that way. A lot of soil grown is done pretty poorly, and hydroponics could be done much more well, but from what we sampled off the supply chain, yes, hydroponics have lower nutrient levels than soil grown.
Mhm. And the reports that you're referencing, Dan, they're quite extensive. So for anyone who is looking for the deeper dive, they do a great summary on those reports. And you have one on grains as well, correct? Right, small grain report.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So I encourage folks to check out the website. Okay, a question from Cindy. Just clarification on what you're actually calling the meter. If someone was interested in checking it out, where do they do it, and what do you actually call it?
We call it the bionutrient meter. We've struggled with finding a slick, snappy name and haven't done it yet. So it's back to bionutrient meter. We've played with bionutrient sensing meter, which would then be the BS meter. All kinds of there's been all kinds of playful things we've discussed, but right now it's a bionutrient meter, and if you go to our site bionutrient.org, you can order one. It's a membership. It's a membership benefit. So if you're not a member, you don't get one. You can't order one, but membership is $5 a month. So hopefully not too high of a hurdle. But as I said, again, it's open source. So if you look, the specs are there to build one yourself if you're up for it. So yeah. And it's rudimentary. I must say it's rudimentary. It's not ready for prime time. I call it an Apple II. It works. Remember back in the olden days when the computers used to live in the basements of universities, and then all of a sudden there was this thing you could have on the shelf that was actually, if you were a coder, you could play Frogger on it, right? It was really rudimentary, but it was not in the basement of university. That's where we're at. We have a thing that sort of works if you're willing to put up with it a little bit. Hopefully, we'll have better. I mean, we will have better iterations going forward. But I do want to make sure people don't have overly high expectations.
On that note, where do you think the meter will be in 5 years? Is that just like too far away to know at this point?
I've actually been this winter listening back on recordings I've done in the past, and even like 5 years ago when I listened to the recording I gave, I'm like, wow, that guy was pretty good. But I'm always wrong on timing. Like every time someone's asked me, I'm like, yeah, it'll be a year or two. I think we'll have it all done in a year or two. And I've said that like 5 years ago. I'm like, oh, well, I'll be done in 2 years. And so I would like to say in 5 years that it'll be in your smartphone, that Apple and Samsung and Google are all competing to have a better sensor built into their smartphones, at least for the consumer. From the grower standpoint, we'd like to be able to give you a meter that you can flash a light at the leaf of the plant while it's growing, and it could give you real-time feedback. The more metadata you have of your soil type and your fertility program and the variety and the time of year, the better the data would be. But a lot of people send samples off for tissue samples or other things like that in season. And our thought is, if we can get to a point where growers can have that be one of many data points where you can actually flash a light at the leaf and it can give you real-time guidance, that would be very empowering. And I think we'll probably be having those meters for various crops out sooner than that. It's really a question of money, time, right? Presume we're going to do a good job. It's the time is based on how much money is available. So because we're doing everything in the commons, because everything's open source, there's no investor opportunity. There's no intellectual property or return on investment framing. So that's been one of our bigger hurdles, is just finding people who say, this is important enough for me to donate to support this process, because I see what the implications are going to be for the rest of the world. But I think it's entirely plausible that these sensors could be built into smartphones in 5 years. Yeah.
That's so exciting. And so a question from Lori, what has there been opposition to this work? And if so, what is the critique that you're hearing?
I don't know that we've experienced opposition. I think we're still haven't quite hit the mainstream yet. I think it's bubbling and bubbling and bubbling. If there is pushback, I haven't felt it. I've basically said, I'm happy to collaborate with anybody, any company, any university, any organization, as long as we can agree on principles of openness and sharing. I'm in favor of big companies being able to line up their supply chain so they can make claims on their bottles and boxes. I see no reason why we should be limiting ourselves to, a certain subset of the culture. I think it's in everybody's interest, and if we can hold it openly, there's no reason to be speaking poorly of one group or another. So I'm sure there will be turbulence at some point, but thus far we haven't experienced it. And we are experiencing big companies saying, "Hey, we'd like to get first mover advantage on this." We're like, "Great, come on down."
Yeah.
As well as small growers and everybody else. Yeah.
So I guess there's a related question here on the partnerships. Are there institutions, sort of other research entities that are interested in partnering with you on this work?
Yeah, well, we've, there's been a bunch of the pieces of the puzzle. One of them has been the back end, the sort of software, so that every farmer can trust when they put their data in that it's their own and that it can be shared across the board. So like your personal data is your own, your name, your address, your farm name, things like that. But your metadata, your variety and your soil type and your fertility program and your nutrient levels is shared. So that's been a big piece of the framework, is not just assessing the nutrients in the crops, but building this way that we can all share and learn together. And that has been through Open Team, which is a FAR match. It's a $5 million from the USDA basically match with a bunch of different partners in it. That's being used by numerous organizations around the world, actually, various continents, various scales, various numbers of people. It's quite inspiring. Yeah, there's this. I'm not sure if people know about this thing. The Secretary of Ag released a couple of weeks ago, where he said, $1 billion for carbon ecosystem function stuff, and there's applications that are due next month, and then more applications that are due in a couple months. But there's been a part of that proposal is not just that you can track the results, but that you actually can have a market case that can drive this thing. And so we're getting a lot of inbound right now from people who are doing some really interesting stuff from a agronomic or organizational or research side, but don't have that market piece. And they're saying, look, we think this nutrient density is a really important piece of the ecosystem. So some partners from the university governmental side, not a lot, but I think probably by 6 months from now, a lot more.
Yeah. Scott, I see you got your hand raised there, buddy. You got a question for us? Oh, you're on mute. Hold on. Let me there you go.
Hey, yeah, thanks. Hey, Dan, how's it going?
Hey, good.
I'm Scott out here at Rolling Fork Farm, and I was just talking to a past intern last night, and I'm trying to get some more understanding on Korean natural farming and the use of IMOs and things like that. Yeah. And he recommended you by name, so shout out Dan. Yeah, it was really it's really cool to see you here. And my question was, can you talk about some of the practices, some of the farming practices that have, I don't know, had some the more nutrient dense practices, if you will?
Yeah, well, I mean, to the point of IMOs and the microbiome, it sure does look like the management practices that facilitate the biological community flourishing to the best capacity are the central things to do. It looks like it doesn't really matter so much about your soil type and your climate zone. I mean, certainly those affect you, and certainly genetics is a thing, but the management practices are powerful. And it's not about thou shalt do this or thou shalt do that. It's about really supporting the bottom of the food chain. Only when the microbiome is flourishing does it seem like the other things are happening that really connect to that flavor and aroma and health giving attribute that we're trying to define as nutrient density. So, or we think is what the nutrient density definition is going to be, because we don't know it yet, because we don't know what nutrient density is. That's the whole point. We're still connecting it, but from everything we see, it sure looks like, aeration, hydration, food for the soil, the microbes have to be there, sufficient minerals. I mean, I think a lot of the things that we all understood, have understood, but it's really about making sure that they're there all the time. So, right now in March, maybe it's above freezing where you guys live, and how much cover do you see on the soil in your garden? how much cover has been there for how long, and did you put stuff in the root cellar and freeze and dehydrate for the winter to eat? What did the microbes have to eat all winter? If they didn't have food to eat, you should expect to be having more something like soil, like dirt, than like soil. And so I think that's a really key point, is the management practices that connect with the microbiome flourishing, the polycultures, the minimal disturbance, those management practices are what correlates with it. But it's about the microbiome at the bottom of the food chain. My kids are starting to hassle me.
I was going to say, you got a visitor. So clarifying question, can you discuss the difference between your meter and just a normal Brix reader?
Yeah, so the Brix refractometer, it measures how much light bends when it passes through a fluid. And it's actually a really good stand-in for nutrient density. It's a really good stand-in. You have to basically take a piece of whatever it is and squish it to get a drop of juice out of it to get a reading. So you can't do that in a grocery store. You can't squish an apple and get a drop of juice out of it. You can't squish a zucchini. You're not supposed to. I mean, I guess you could, but most people don't. So really, it's also empirical, and it gives you numbers, like numbers of polyphenols, numbers of antioxidants. Not that it matters, but people seem to like that. Brix is a number, but it doesn't have a lot of data to sort of verify this means it's better. We can see it tastes better. We can see shelf life is better. We can see pest and disease resistance is better. But we're basically taking it one step forward, getting more empiricism and making it more plausible to be using in the supply chain, making it a real life thing. I call it a shiny object. It's the kind of thing that hopefully is there to catch people's attention and facilitate the conversation around these topics. But the best tool we've got is our nose and our tongue, right? We're never going to build an instrument that's better than what nature gave us. Hopefully this is a reminder that says not all carrots are equal. I would say, in my perspective, coming into this conversation, the assumption has been, milk is milk is milk. Yeah, beef, yeah, maybe a little bit of variation, but it's pretty much the same thing. Carrots, yeah, basically the same thing. That's really not the case. It really is not the case. And if we can leave people with one thing, which is basically, eat the food that tastes better, that's better for your family, that will solve climate change. Giving people a tool to facilitate that choice. It'll also help with chronic disease and things like that. But understanding that it's not all number 2 plastic, right? It's not all tin, right? We have these things in the world around us that we think are all uniform, and they pretty much are uniform. I mean, maybe I don't even know number 2 plastic, how uniform that is, but carrots are not uniform. Beef is not uniform. There's a real variation there, and it really matters what's in it. And those choices we make with our dollars to buy food can support the solutions to any number of things which maybe people feel concerned about now. I think we have the opportunity to really turn a lot of that around.
Well, we are at the end of our time together. So Dan, I just want to share a lot of gratitude for the work you and your team are doing. It's really exciting for all of us, and certainly for all the farmers looking to make sure they're using those practices in a way, but also like finding the ways to communicate the value to consumers, right? To their community. I feel like a lot of farmers on this call are 100% farmers and 100%
are doing a really good job, and they're competing against the organic on the shelf at the grocery store, which is not the same thing. And there's no way for people to be conveying that, understanding that. There's a whole culture of people who are really doing the right things for the right reasons, and let's support them and let them be empowered and affirmed. And yeah, thank you for all of your work at Oak, and I look forward to collaborating with you going forward.
You got some folks coming in.
I'm officially I told them half an hour. I'm like, okay, and more than half an hour. We watched the clock. He said 6:05, and it's past 6:05. So thank you very much.
We're so grateful. Thank you. Yeah. Take good care. Have a good dinner.
Okay, bye-bye. You will. Bye-bye.
All right. We just think the world of Dan and so glad that he could tune in with us. If anyone's interested in being connected with him or the work that Bionutrient Institute's doing, just reach out and we can connect you. Reach out to me directly or anyone on the team. We are going to keep going. We have a lot to get through. Welcome back. Since you all are all Oak members, you know why we're here and what we're doing. You know, we're only able to do this because you all are part of this journey. You set the mission. Oak was founded by farmers for farmers, and we're here just to really advance the opportunities for organic agriculture and sort of rapid adoption of these practices throughout the region. So thank you for believing in this mission. And, you know, we do it because we believe that organic agriculture can really be a powerful driver for change. We focus on increasing ecological resilience and conservation, increasing community and human health, and increasing regional prosperity, all through the lens of advancing organic agriculture. We think that there are opportunities for everyone, right? That we are all better when agriculture improves. So, that's our core tenets, and everything we do is sort of filtered through those. This is a little glance at Oak membership through the years. We've seen some pretty great growth since the early days, and you know, there's membership before this, but I don't think we have great records on that. So at just over 415-ish members now. We always see a little bit of dip in this first quarter before, it's just the way membership renews for us. So we anticipate steady growth and continued membership from folks across the state. We love showing y'all where folks are members, and it's great to see this sort of balloon out from the central bluegrass region where we historically had a pretty strong membership base. But particularly with virtual programming, we have a wider reach, and we're really excited about our in-person events this year also being farther out into the edges of the state as well, just to make sure we're reaching everyone where they're at. We do like to share that membership benefits, just a quick reminder, you do have lots of benefits, everything from discounts to popular retailers, to having a voice through Oak Priorities, to being invited to participate in farmer listening sessions, and just having that direct connection with your community. I do want to also highlight down here, we're getting a new website this spring, everyone, and it has things just for you because you asked for it. So we'll have a new member only forum and classified section. So you all as members can post what your classifieds listings are there, and they'll be open to the public to see. So that's exciting because you asked for it. We're figuring it out. As a member, we also have this wonderful Find a Farm directory. We launched this in 2019. This is one of the direct mailers we did. Jeff Windhorst designed this for us, and we sent out like 5,000 copies of this. But we use this to strategically promote your all's farms, Oak member farms. There are over 80 farms in it now. This is just a screenshot of one little blip, and it's so fun. We put a lot of funding behind advertising for this, everything from radio ads and print mailers to social media campaigns, and we get thousands of visits to this directory all the time. And it's great because it means we don't have to answer the phone and answer customer calls all the time about where can they find organic carrots. You know, people are just automatically going to this directory, and that's great. You can search by radius, and then we also just added over the winter this new map feature, so folks can click on a map and see what's close to them. This is just a screenshot, so I can't show it, but if they click on one of these pin drops, then the farm profile page pops up, so people can really easily navigate to a farm that's right in their region, selling what they want. So that's an exciting development. And, you know, one of the reasons we are here and continuing to do this work is that there is continual demand for organic foods. This is just a snapshot at U.S. certified organic food sales. This is up through 2020. I haven't seen the 2021 data yet. For all certified organic food sales. And so it topped out at over $56 billion in food sales. This was significant growth over 2019, largely pandemic induced, that like extra little boost there. But particularly the growth in demand, particularly for fruits and vegetables, certified organic fruits and vegetables, was significantly higher as well. So this creates a real opportunity in the food landscape for farmers. And this data is for organic sales in Kentucky. It's a little dated, you'll see. This is all from the Ag Census data. So this is self-reported, and it is from 2019 is the most recent. So this is just a reminder to all you farmers, please fill out your Ag Census survey. Please, please, please. Money does come to Kentucky based on how many farmers fill that out. So when that comes back around, please do that. But so we're assuming this is a little underreported. What I like to share about this is like it's clearly an upward trend, right, in organic sales in the state. So again, creating opportunities for farmers. So we also like to show where the certified organic farms are in Kentucky. So right now there are just over 200 certified organic farming operations in the state. And this is where they are. You can always look up certified organic operations on the USDA Organic Integrity Database and search by state or county or country. And it's a useful tool. There are, in addition to this, about 50 processors or handlers that are certified organic as well. While we always like sharing a bit about the organic industry nationally and what's happening in Kentucky, you all know that OAK is really about all the people engaging with our programs and the organic practices they're using and advancing those opportunities for a lot of farmers, not just those certified organic operations. And so, annually there are over 3,000 people that are engaging with our programs. And that's everything from our consumer education and outreach events and farm tours to cooking classes and to farmer field days, conference, listening sessions, all the things. So we're really excited to see this statewide engagement with programs that OAK is offering. And all 3,000 of those people are asked have the opportunity to fill out surveys and give us feedback, as you well know, since you've participated in a lot of our programs. And we take that to heart. We put a lot of time and thought into asking people engaging the programs what they need to advance their farming operation, what they need to access local foods. And what always rises to the top for the past 2 years are these 8 priorities. This is a continual process of refining. We love making programs that fit your needs and our broader network of stakeholder needs. And so you'll see that we're firmly rooted in organic production, education, and technical assistance, and market support and community education. Those are like the 3 big pillars of OAK's work, early programs, right? We're a fierce advocate for organic research and always look for opportunities to connect that research with folks in our network and really support the farmer network and the social and resource components. I'm seeing some folks in the waiting room. We'll talk a little bit more about sort of how we're moving into some policy advocacy space and how we're always holding up this human and community health component, and more always thinking about the ecological resilience of farms and particularly the climate solutions, right, that these practices can offer. So we'll talk more about that. So before we really get into the programs and the OAK business, I do want to just quickly share the people that make it possible. I'm super excited to have our whole team on the call today and really excited to welcome a few new team members. So I just want to give Annie Woods a quick shout out. She's here, Annie from Bracken County. She started with us in January as a research coordinator working on the global farm metric and the farm sustainability assessment tool, which you'll hear about in a little bit. And then Kayla Pusick joined us as a student fellow in late January as well. She's not on the call, she's in class. She's at U of L doing a master's in sustainability there. So we're excited to have her on that Global Farm Metric project as well. And then Natalie Ryder joined us. She's on the call here. from Jefferson County, Louisville. She joined us in early February as our newest assistant director. And so Natalie will be spending her time on a lot of programs and sort of strategic development as well. So we're really excited about what this staffing capacity allows us to do with our programs. You all know we've been doing a lot with not a lot of people for a long time. So we're super thrilled to have such a robust team. And then I love just acknowledging our incredible advisors across a lot of academic institutions and extension. We could not do what we do with our farmer programming without their support. They lend us incredible resources and time and thoughtful insights into programming. So with all that, we're going to continue with the people. I'm going to pass it over to Ashton.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for being here. I'm Ashton Potter Wright. I have been on the Oak board since 2016 and I'm currently the outgoing chair. So it's my honor to introduce to you the new, our 2022 board members, including the 4 new board members that we're really thrilled that are here with us tonight. So first, Bryce Bowman owns Lazy 8 Stock Farm, a multi-generational certified organic farm, diversified vegetable farm in Madison and Garrett counties. He runs a large CSA program serving Central Kentucky. And Bryce is really interested in building a strong organic farmer network in Kentucky, allowing more farmers to find successes and support in our changing landscape. Next up, we're excited to welcome Maggie Dungan, a native Kentuckian who owns Salad Days Farms in Woodford, Kentucky. It's a certified organic, diversified vegetable farm. Maggie's a first-generation farmer and is really passionate about feeding her community and sustainable farming. Our next new board member is Andrew Oles. He's a 3rd-generation farmer with ancestral connection to Garrett County. And after receiving a degree in agriculture and natural resources at Berea College, he spent time farming in several different states, including North Carolina and New York. He served in various roles at Berea College Farm, where he currently serves as the farm director. And he's been involved with Oak for many years, including our transition trainer program. Our next new board member is Julia Sampson. She was born in New Jersey, but grew up in Memphis, where she became a barbecue connoisseur, it sounds like, and started really questioning, where is this meat coming from? How are these animals raised? And during the mid-90s, she started reading Michael Pollan and began to realize that the plight for the well-being of seed, soil, food, and farming was imminent and serious, and she committed to joining the movement. We're so glad that she did. Since that time, she has worked with the National Center for Appropriate Technology and then with the Southern Sustainable Agriculture Working Group, or SOG, on everything from conference planning and network building to database management and donor relations. So we're thrilled to have these 4 new board members starting tonight. And I also just want to take a note to thank the membership for engaging in this voting process and selection process of new board members. It's really important that we're cultivating new leadership for this organization on an ongoing basis. So really encourage you, if you or someone you know might be interested in serving on the board in future years, there's a form on the website you can fill out, or you can reach out to any of the existing board members and we'd be happy to get you connected. So I'd like to also introduce our other amazing returning board members. Sarah Fritchner is also a founding member of sorts. Sarah has and continues to be our lead fundraising champion and guru. She's cultivated significant relationships with key donors over the years, including funding, kind of seed funding, to get us to a point where we were able as an organization to hire an executive director. And subsequently, Brooke has hired this amazing staff that you've heard about. Sarah recruited me to the board in 2016, and I'm incredibly grateful that she got me plugged into such an amazing organization. She's worn many hats over the years professionally, including being a food writer, building the Louisville Farm to Table program, and now working for a food manufacturer in Louisville. Next up, Carolyn Gahn is our current treasurer. She also serves as the director of Farm to Institution for Aramark. In this role, she works to build scalable solutions for increasing institutional food purchasing from small local farms and businesses. She's also the co-founder of Sweetgrass Natural Foods, which manufactures regional CPG specialty food products. She lives near Lexington and farms with her family. Next up, Kyle Johnson is a farmer in Paducah. For the last 10 years, he's raised conventional corn and beans, but recently started to transition 100 acres. He's excited about organic farming in Kentucky and sees it as a better alternative for himself, his family, and our community. Steve Muntz is also on our executive committee, serving as secretary. His interest in agriculture began in college when he became concerned about hunger issues kind of globally. He's worked in agriculture ever since in the nonprofit world and owning small farms. Most recently, he served as the executive director of Southern SOG. And it was Steve's heifer international work in Appalachia that brought him and his wife to Kentucky, where they bought a small farm and raised sheep, pastured poultry, in a small organic garden. Last but not least, Amber, Amber, I always mess up your last name, Skilligo, grew up raising sheep and rabbits for 4-H, and her family grew almonds commercially and conventionally. After obtaining her PhD in New Zealand, she spent 7 years as a postdoc and research associate at Berkeley, trying to figure out how to make organic farming feasible, profitable, and environmentally sustainable. She continues to work towards strengthening the integrity of the organic label and increasing organic acreage in her role as the Associate Director of Science programs at the Organic Center. So that's who we are this year, and want to just give a big thank you to our outgoing 4 board members. John Bell, I want to thank him for being a founding member of Oak. He served on the board since its inception. It was so long ago, we can't even remember exactly what year that was. We're so incredibly grateful for his expansive farming wisdom, but also his steadfast commitment to Oak's mission and vision, and his stellar leadership throughout these years. We would most definitely not be the organization we are without John. So thank you, John. Kathleen Butler served on the board briefly before she and her family made the move from Bourbon County and picked up their farm and moved it out west last year. We truly appreciate all of her farming wisdom and her service to the board while she was with us. And finally, Nathan Williams has served on the board since 2020. Nathan is an organic dairy farmer in Taylor County, and he has shared his wealth of farming knowledge, but also his legal expertise with us, and we are very grateful for that. So I'm rotating also off the board this year, but I just want to say how proud I am of this organization and of Oak staff for being such an incredible, tireless advocates for organic farming in Kentucky. It's just been a real pleasure. So now we'll move on to the fun stuff, the financials. I'm going to give you just a really high-level overview of Oak's organic financial picture, and Carolyn, our treasurer, jump in, or Brooke, if I say anything I misstep in any way. So this first slide just breaks down our 2021 revenue categories and our general buckets of expenses. On the revenue side, we've been working very hard to increase revenue and to diversify those revenue streams. But Oak, as you can see here, really relies on grants to power our programs. We've seen a strong and steady increase in support and donations from individuals, reoccurring monthly gifts, and major gifts. And again, a big shout out to Sarah Fritchner and the staff for cultivating those really key relationships. Some of our Oak events also bring in some revenue to help cover some of the costs of those programs. And our sponsors obviously continue to be outstanding advocates and allies for our work, and are incredible supporters of Oak programming in general. The program pass-through line, those are payments made directly to farms for CSAs from our Employer Workplace Wellness Program through the Kentucky Farm Share Coalition. And Brooke will share more about those program impacts in just a few minutes. And we do have some fees built in to that program for services rendered for that last category. On the expense side, Oak continues to be extremely program heavy, and with less than 10% of our total expenses going towards administrative needs, which is significant. And you'll see again that program pass through again as an expense. So you can see around 98,000 in net income for last year, but most of that will be spent this year on programs as we kind of ramp back up to pre-pandemic levels, hopefully. So going on to the next slide, this is another way to just visualize Oak's revenue by type of revenue. You can see that grants again account for our largest revenue stream, but staff continues to work really hard to diversify these streams, building our donations, memberships, events, and service revenues. Oak relies really heavily on grant funding for many of our programs, and while we have worked hard to increase donations, memberships, and all those other areas of income, you can see that all those other areas combined are still less than our grant funding. So onto the expense side, again, just as a quick visual, the program pass-through line is, again, primarily for the Kentucky Farm Share Coalition work that Brooke will talk about. And while it is pass-through money, it's important to note that this program does create opportunities for direct purchases from Kentucky Farm Share member farms through employer-sponsored workplace wellness efforts. So while this is program pass-through, you can kind of think of it as program expenses as well. Moving on to the next slide, we are always working hard to ensure that Oak's programs are powered not only for just this year, but thinking about the future and the long term. And so as we grow our programs, we're also must grow the amount of cash on hand that we have. We've worked hard to responsibly build this capacity so that the organization can deliver programs that you and other stakeholders have indicated that are priority areas that Brooke referenced earlier. And so finally, Oak is able to deliver so many great programs that you're about to hear more about because of the incredible support from all of these folks listed on these slides, the partners, funders, donors, and program allies. We would not be where we are as an organization without the generous support, both financial and through partnerships with these folks. So just a big thank you to all the folks listed here. So with that, I will turn it back over to Brooke.
Thanks, Ashton. We recognize that looking at the numbers isn't always fun, but it's the only way this happens, folks. We spend a lot of time on the numbers. So I just want to share so much gratitude for these funders, partners, donors, for the board, for all of our individual donors. It's not possible without that kind of support and commitment. So super excited to have our new board members with us to help steward the process, and just sharing so much gratitude to you, John, Ashton, Nathan, and Kathleen for the many, many, many years and many, many, many hours of meetings you have sat through, because your commitment to this work and determination to make it all possible is just really inspiring and has made it incredibly fun along the way. So thank you. We'll miss you. Okay. So part of the reason why we're doing this work is because we hear from our stakeholders that these are their challenges. These are their production challenges. These are their food system challenges. These are their business challenges. And so we have this opportunity as an organization to help connect the dots on resources, on advocacy, on programming to address these challenges. And so I'm going to share just a little bit about our programs. I'm looking at the time, Robin, and I'm going to go really fast. No, I'm not going to go that fast. I'll probably just skip some things. So Oak program overview, I'm going to share a little bit about what we've done in 2021 and what we have planned for 2022. First, a lot of you know Farmer Field Days. A lot of you on the call, we were at your farm for virtual Farmer Field Days. it was a crazy year in 2021. It was 3 of us on a farm making a field day happen to then present, as opposed to, 35 of us or 50 of us on a farm together. But we had a good time and we made it happen, and we learned how to edit videos and hold webinars while playing videos, and it was a whole thing. But this is what our field days ended up looking like. Lots of participants on the call tuning in. We did offer these 7 field days last year that were all virtual except for that last one. And we ended up engaging like over 300 people tuning in for these field days. And then another 300 people watched all the recordings. So, virtual is not the same as in person, but we still had this incredible opportunity to get content out to people in a meaningful way when we didn't have any other options. So we have a YouTube channel now. Check it out. Lots of great short videos in there and some really insightful short videos from farmers about their challenges and their process and their best practices. And then you can also always connect with the whole recording from our field days, the virtual field days. This is what we have in store for our 2022 field days. We hope to see you at some of these events across the state. Registration is open for the first 2 on our current website. But as I mentioned, we are building a new website. So we'll open the rest of the registration once we are on the new site. So we don't have to transfer those registrations over. So we hope to see you at those. Annual Farming Conference. This was us in 2020 when Dan was with us. And this is what it looked like this year. We were all virtual again. And we had a really unique opportunity with conference in 2022 to do a series. So we were virtual at the end of January, and we had over 440 folks join us, which was amazing. 100% reported that they got useful and shareable information. 88% of attendees were farmers, and 55% of those are beginning farmers, and 70% were historically underserved farmers. And we were able to give out 245 scholarships because we just had incredible support for this event. So we were feeling really excited about that opportunity. Not only that, we designed it as a 3-part series because we thought that was a great idea. So we did conference part 1 at the end of January, and we are doing conference part 2, March 2nd, 17th and 18th in Western Kentucky and Hopkinsville at the Christian County Cooperative Extension. John Kemp will be our keynote speaker there. Really excited about that. And then we'll be in Northern Kentucky, Burlington, Boone County Extension Office on April 8th. So all the details are on the website. Check it out if you aren't already registered. We'd love to see you there. Scholarships are available. So I hope you're there. Third program, our organic certification technical assistance, our transition trainer program, continues to work with over 40 farmers every year, helping them navigate the regulations and learn how to apply for certification. We help with record keeping, paperwork, all of it. We help folks who are having issues with non-compliances, and we're just really excited. I mean, all the farmers, the 160 farmers we've worked with in the past 5 years are collectively managing over 10,000 acres, right? That's a lot of organic practices out there on the land. This is awesome. In addition to that, we've had the opportunity through 2 different grants to work on increased outreach and professional development to ag professionals around organic regulations and organic practices. We want any farmer that asks an ag professional about an organic practice or how to certify, we want that ag professional to be able to respond with useful information and support. So through a Southern SARE professional development grant, we're able to do a 2-year project for all of our ag partners at institutions about organic regulation literacy, which is pretty awesome, and sustainable practices. We're also partnered on one project, one of 9 funded projects by the National Organic Program in partnership with the International Organic Inspectors Association to develop a Kentucky Organic Inspector Apprenticeship project here in Kentucky. And it's all about capacity building for organic professionals. So that's really exciting. If anyone on the call here is interested in providing technical assistance to farmers around organic application certification, give me a call. We have a training coming up on that too as part of this project. Moving on to another program area that is very new for Oak. We did not present on this last year. We are working on the Global Farm Metric. This is what Annie and Kayla are working on to develop and adapt this farm sustainability assessment tool that looks at annual farm performance across these 11 categories, 3 key indicators in each category, and about 100 data points underneath those to give a whole farm assessment of what that farm sustainability scoring is across these 11 categories. It's been developed by our partners at the Sustainable Food Trust. It's built on data for European farms. So our huge task, Annie's huge task that she's stewarding, is adapting this tool to be used and trialed on farms in Kentucky. We're really excited to work with a pretty extensive network of experts to make this possible. Any farms on the call that are interested in participating in this trial this spring, we will pay you for your time. There's a farmer honorarium. We're going to work with 5 farms this summer to trial it, and then we'll take the results back, adapt it, make some changes in partnership with the Sustainable Food Trust team, who's also doing the same process. And then we're going to come back in the fall and be ready to ask 25 more farms to participate with us and trial this. So if anyone's interested, let me know. You know where to find me, or reach out to Annie, and we'll get you in the lineup. It's pretty exciting, particularly when you think about some of the nutrient density work that Dan's talking about. We're also in conversation with Dan about how can that data be part of this tool, right? Particularly when you think about some of the purchasing incentives that are out there across the whole supply chain to source products that are good for the environment, have these environmental benefits. This tool is one of those tools that can measure that impact. And anyways, there's a lot more there. In the interest of time, I'm looking at the clock. I'm going to just keep on going. So that's about the tool. It is open sourced, which we believe is really important. And it is really looking at that farm assessment, but has the ability to also be part of the larger supply chain process. Okay, last program area, the Kentucky Farm Share Coalition. This is a workplace wellness CSA program that we work with 7 farms currently, and we're always looking for more farms. So any CSA growers in Kentucky interested to join us, give us a shout. We partner with 16 employer partners to move CSA shares as an employee health benefit, because let's be real, there are not enough of us that are eating our recommended daily servings of fruits and vegetables. In Kentucky, we're pretty terrible at it. 6.3% of adults. No wonder we have this really high rate of diet-related diseases, right? What we found through our participant surveys is that over 85% of CSA members eat their daily recommended amounts of fruits and vegetables. This is really great, right? And aside from this, we have research from partners at University of Kentucky that says, yes, in fact, those diet-related medical expenses decrease, right, when you participate in CSA. So we actually have a monetary number on that, right? And this is a great couple images from workplace partners where you have employees just like picking up their CSA shares at the end of the workday, right? Makes it so easy, so convenient. So in terms of program impacts here, what we really like to share is that, last year there were over 1,100 people who participated in workplace CSA programs, right? And those shares meant that there was almost $600,000 generated for CSA purchases just through this program alone, right? And this is a scalable program. We would love to see 50 farms join this coalition and 100 employers, right? I always love sharing this, that it's modeled on the Fair Share Coalition in Madison, Wisconsin. There are 55 farms in that coalition, serving like 8,000 CSA shares to Madison, Wisconsin, which is a city that's smaller than Lexington. There's so much that's possible. So anyways, I love sharing that just as inspiration. This program has incredible impact, right? It created a program and a template whereby employers could say, this will work for our employees. And collectively, they put almost $200,000 towards CSA Share as a $200 incentive for employees to participate, right? So Oaks leveraging that the employer's commitment to wellness to then have it translate into purchasing organic fruits and vegetables, which is really exciting. So we're excited about how this program can grow. And one of the ways that we really support this program and support the farms and the employers and those participating CSA members succeed is by doing a lot of education and outreach. So we provide recipes and videos and cooking demos. And any farmers on the call, please always share these events with your customers if you find it useful. And you can download all of these recipes from our website as well. So lastly, we have been really thinking about how to advance this work, and it's through your all's input that we've moved more towards thinking about how can we connect policy and advocacy opportunities to our folks who are reading our newsletter and to farmers in the network. And so just recently, this is a great example, we held a farmer listening session in partnership with the Organic Farmers Association and Organic Trade Association, asking farmers, organic farmers, what they wanted in terms of the 2023 Farm Bill priorities, right? In addition to that, we are always working for healthy soils legislation in Kentucky because we think that's an important opportunity to make sure farming practices are incentivized appropriately, and really thinking about how we can be advocates for a variety of programs at the state and federal level. So more to come on the Farm Bill. We're just at the very beginning of all that. I should also say, if there are any farmers that are interested, a couple of us are meeting with congressional representatives next week on Monday. We have 2 meetings on Monday, actually. So if there are Kentucky farmers that would like to meet with us, send me an email. We have room for 1 or 2 more to join us. Okay. So that's, again, we're offering programs so that we can come out ahead of these challenges that are very common. I mean, what's amazing about this word cloud, if you were with us over conference, we showed this a lot. We had all of our members provide input on these challenges, but then also all 440 folks who registered for conference. And this is it distilled down to this. The point is, the challenges are so common, right? So this is why we're doing it, to find the solutions and to grow the food system we all want together. So this was a great event that we had back in 2019 at this point, Kelly. Okay, so thank you for being here with us and for doing the work with us. I'm going to stop this screen share now. Robin, I'm going to pass it over to you for the rest of the evening. And I'm not remembering there. We want to go there, right? Is that the slide you want, Robin? Okay.
Yep.
Great.
Hi, everyone. First, I didn't have this in my script, but I think we have to thank Brooke, who is so awesome and does so much facilitating for all of us. And you just never get it wasn't even in the script. I didn't plan it until right now, but Brooke is awesome. Just going to put that in there. So we're now entering the part of this event where we're all going to gather in little breakout rooms. But before we do that, I thought it'd be very fun to see each other and do a little get to know you. So if you're so inclined to turn your video on, that would be awesome. And if you wanted to click onto gallery view on your own Zoom, you could see everyone. And I'll say right now that one of the things I love so much about the Oak community is our diversity. We're farmers, we're local food advocates, we're ag professionals. We all wear a lot of hats. I wear a lot of hats all the time. So I thought before we split off into these groups, we could just do a little visual cue and just identify ourselves to each other. So pretty easy. And if you're more than one of these, then I leave it up to you to see if you can use both of your hands at the same time and still manage Zoom. I don't know that I can do that, but if you are a farmer, which I am, let's give a thumbs up. You can also, could someone on the staff take a screenshot once we've done this? Thank you. If you are an ag professional working in education, extension, nonprofit, give us a high five. Okay. And if you are a local food advocate, this is where you might have to have 3 hands. Let's see a raised fist. So I'm just going to go with, I don't know, I'm choosing these 2. You guys make your own choices. Awesome. Okay, it's just so great to have everyone here and I love it. Now, Katie, who is our breakout room expert, is going to split us off into pre-assigned breakout rooms. So I just want to pause and note that Zoom is not perfect and breakout rooms can sometimes be a little glitchy. So we only have like 12 minutes left. And so instead of worrying if you're in a group that you're not supposed to be in, just be in that space and enjoy speaking with whoever is in that breakout room, because every one of you is awesome and these are going to be some fun conversations. So Katie, hit the magic button. Let's see what happens. Thank you, Katie. That was flawless. Okay, so we're going to do one more. We're going to share a moment of reflection. And then we're going to do at the very end what's called a chat storm. I don't know if that's the right, if there's a different terminology. But what I want now is for everyone just to take a moment, reflect back on the time we've had together, both in the breakout room and just the past hour and a half with our community, and think about what inspiration you've gained from the time together. Think about if you met a new friend or a new neighbor, or if there's anything else you would like to share, like with the Oak staff, board, advisors, and your community. We're all here together. And I'm just going to pause for like 30 seconds and let everyone think about that. And when I say go, I want everyone to just put their reflection in the chat and just take a few minutes to read those responses from the community. So I'm going to be quiet, which is hard for me to do, but I will. Okay. So everybody go. Put those thoughts in the chat. Awesome. Oak equals community, feeding the bottom of the food chain, amazed and impressed, excited. Okay, can't wait for the health meter on my smartphone. I'm going to agree with that. I can't read them all. You guys read them all. I'm going to close this meeting with just the hugest heart of gratitude. I am so grateful for each of you, those that I knew before tonight and those that I just met tonight, my neighbors near and far. Thank you for being part of this wonderful organization and the organic community in Kentucky. Spring is feeling like it's here, folks, so let's do it. Thank you.